Wayne County Audit, Versace Events, aka huh? You said what? Oh, I don't know. Maybe I'm hearing stuff. Thought my wife said something to me. Not bad. Not bad. So how's everybody how's everybody's weekend? How was everybody's weekend? And how's everybody's week so far? Hope everybody's doing well out there in YouTubulous land. Obviously, as always, fuck the city of Wayne, police and fire departments. A bunch of no good, worthless, redundant cucks. Bunch of cucks, that's what they are. Cuck, cuck, cuckety, cuck, cuck, cuck. But what are you gonna do? Move? No. Definitely not gonna be moving. What's up, Cat73 Freedom? How you doing? How's it going today on this slow Tuesday? How's everybody doing? Cat73 Freedom. I'm good. That's good. I'm glad that you're good. What is it that's making you good? Right? What is it that nothing happening here? Where's here at? Where's here? What part of the world are you from? I'm from Michigan. Michigan. Idaho, there you go. Northern, southern. Are you by Napoleon Dynamite? Are you by Preston? Preston, Idaho? Are you part of Napoleon Dynamite territory? Northern. Okay. Sounds quiet, sounds peaceful. Am I right or am I wrong? I tell you what though, I bet you that you can open burn up there in northern Idaho. I bet you nobody bothers you up there. North Idaho where it's cold. Isn't all of Idaho cold?
No.
The southern part's got to be cold too. I mean,
Summers.
I don't know. Sounds like a nice place though, honestly. Sounds like a place I need to go check out. I ain't never really been out west too much. I mean, I flew to California. You know, I've been out like bits and pieces, but I've driven all over the East Coast, down south. It's not as cold in southern Idaho. Yeah, I would think so. But I bet southern Idaho is not as pretty though. I bet you the north is where it's at. Idaho, no, Idaho. Idaho, Idaho. Oh, time to go smoke me a fatty. Smoke a fatty.
Natty fatty.
A natty daddy fatty.
I'm about to eat me some shrimp cocktail. Dude, that KFC downstairs, honestly.
It's warmed up here today. It's in the mid-20s. That's pretty good. As you can see down here in southern Michigan, it is cold as fuck. Don't mind the trash. Don't mind the trash. I gotta take that to the trash can. But yeah, it's pretty cold out here. It's warmed up some today in the mid-20s. I hate the cold and snow, but I love the mountains. Yeah, I hear you on that. I wish I was around some mountains. Everything's pretty flat over here. Everything's pretty flat. This pond over here, we got some deer hanging out. Veterans Pond, getting ready to go in. We gotta have we're having a surveyor come out. That's the other lot right there. But we have a surveyor coming out to do a special survey of this area. For what reason? Because the atomic waste dump shithole city of Wayne insist, right? Bob Watson, fat fuck Bob Watson, at the building and engineering department, they decided that I gotta spend more money. I heard a storm missed Michigan but hit Ohio. Yeah, I mean, we had a little bit of a crazy couple of days of weather, but it cleared up. It rained and then everything, all the snow melted, and then it snowed. But we had some good wind though. We had some really good wind. Yeah, let's move this trash. Move this trash ass. Staggy tits. Damn. Yeah, it's cold out. It is fucking cold out. Snow blowing right in my... Gotta love that. Yeah, I mean, that kind of goes into my rant, though, about the state of Michigan, right? The state of Michigan's a miserable enough place, right? You got all the high taxes, you got the shit weather, you got the shitty drivers. About the only thing you got going for Michigan is the marijuana laws are pretty good. Really, the Michigan state constitution's pretty good too. But unfortunately, you know, when you have to go to kangaroo, you know, the local courts are so detached, right, from the Constitution that it might as well not even exist, to be honest with you. So you're the second channel I have found in Wayne. What's the first one? What's the other channel in Wayne? I didn't know there was another channel. Zan Ron Streets Media. Interesting. Getting all this trash put in the 96-gallon trash can. Oh man. Yeah, we're filled up. Zanron Streets Media. I'm gonna screenshot that. Wow, that is fucking crazy wind. Damn, where am I going? I gotta pick this last one up. What's that cover? Any particular topics? There we go. All done. Look at that. Oh, man. But yeah, if Michigan wasn't bad enough, you know, now we gotta deal with these yo-yos, these momos. That's what they call them in New York, momos. Well, what I call them is beta male faggots, right? If we didn't have to deal with so many beta male faggots, man, life would be pretty good out here in Wayne. It's not bad because I have the one of the best properties in Wayne County. But yeah, city of Wayne itself, city of Wayne shit with a exclamation point. You know, if we're just being real, if we're just gonna keep it a buck. And I mean, is lefties, right? They like to call themselves liberals, but there's nothing liberal about these people. Authoritarians, I guess, would be the term that I would say most accurately describes these people. Authoritarian. A lot of them call themselves Democrats, liberals. He's a cop watcher, but hasn't been getting to do much of that. Just started to get into it again. He's been doing a different type of lives. He's a cop watcher. Oh, fuck. Yeah, I gotta talk to this guy. Because sounds like he knows a lot. Sounds like he knows some things. And he's obviously probably lived in Wayne a lot longer than I have, so yeah, cities and the entire country. You know, people say, oh, that's crazy. I'm like, no, just spend some time here. Just talk to the residents here. Stay long enough and you'll see. Go down to the Wayne County Jail and interview people, and you'll hear all kinds of crazy shit. You'll hear shit from black, white, Latino, the craziest of shit. Not like, oh wow, you know, that's something to be proud of. It's like really disgusting violations, constitutional rights abuses is really what it is. Civil rights abuse. Abuse of legal process. Judiciary abuse. Right? Judicial abuse, I should say. inaccurate ROAs, register of actions that aren't even remotely accurate, background check all fucked up, right? Charges that nobody even knows about, made up charges, fabricated probable cause, fabrication of evidence, fabrication of police reports. Just really what the city of Wayne is very good at is their fabricators, narrative fabricators, right? Fabricated. They're the experts in fabricated narratives, fabrication of narratives. The city of Wayne is experts at that. They are experts at one thing and one thing only, and that is narrative fabrication, right? Well, where they can just fabricate out of thin air, right? Fabricate charges, fabricate laws, right? Like come up with laws on the spot that don't exist anywhere in any sort of statute, right? No city charter. Their city charter does not have just fabricated charges, fabricated laws. I mean, it's crazy. Yeah, I mean, like the city. Yeah, it's wild shit, man. It's wild shit. And the thing is they do it so brazenly, so openly, so casually that it's the fact is they don't think that they're gonna get caught, right? They don't have any worry, which is understandable because qualified immunity, even if they lose their qualified immunity, like they did in the Blackwell versus Nosarini case, the taxpayers, the residents get to foot the bill anyway. So there's really no real consequences to them because there has been absolutely no challenger in the city. Challenges in the political process. Oh, a year ago. Oh shit, right around. Yeah, I have to talk to him. And see what's up with him. I would be honored to know him, to speak with him. Get his input on some things. Definitely would not mind that. It's always good to get information. Usually, I don't want to say always. I hate using absolute language because absolute language. He was on off. I don't know too much. I started going, but yeah. You don't want to get absolute statements, but I've had a very interesting life as far as the type of people I've been exposed to, the type of personalities. I've seen a lot of really awful stuff in my life, right? Really awful personalities, a lot of fraud, a lot of abuse, a lot of scandals. Things that are just tormenting, disheartening to say the least. And just when I think I've seen it all from the city of Wayne, they just never cease to amaze me with their maliciousness and just their retaliatory nature. The city of Wayne is, like I said, they're by and large, it's corrupt to the core. I've never seen people just blatantly casually violate people's rights and do it so openly. You know, I mean, these people violate the law so openly, right? Like, when I had my arraignment on June 3rd, right, this kangaroo court arraignment for this charge that, you know, it's impossible to be charged with something that doesn't exist, right? Violating a law that doesn't exist, right? And then, of course, obstruction and interference is physical, right? So to not physically do anything on your own property and then to be charged with obstruction and interference after they broke into your property. I mean, it's the core evil of the Fourth Amendment. I can't think of a better example of a blatant disregard for the Fourth and 14th Amendment than what the city of Wayne does. And what they did 4 times on video. They did this 4 times. 5 times total that we know of, right? And that's crazy. That is absolutely fucking insane. And, you know, I can't stand for it. My wife can't stand for it. The people of this country can't stand for this. You know, the fact is everybody knows how wrong this is, how wrong what they did was. May 9th, May 19th in particular. July 5th too. I mean, March 28, 2024, May 9th, 2025, May 19th, 2025, July 5th, 2025, and then July 10th, 2025, right? The city of Wayne's dirtbags to the core. I mean, you want to drop hard R's, it's because that's what the city of Wayne is. They're hard R's, right? They're, you know, hard R scum is what they are. Hard R pond scum, right? These people are deplorable human beings. And I'm talking about, like I said, city of Wayne, as far as their fire department, their police department, their building engineering office. Those people are mostly just incompetent, you know, but Bob Watson, he's a piece of shit. And he's not, you know, and the thing is these people are the lowest common denominator in Wayne County, right? And so you just get a lot of incompetence. And to be quite frank with you, the dumbing down of America has been happening for the better part of 100 years. And yeah, these people are, you know, you can tell they went to Wayne Memorial. You can definitely tell these people are fucking, I mean, inbred intelligence level, right? These people are functionally retarded. Not really functional, though. That's the thing. They're non-functionally retarded. And that's a bad combination with maliciousness and malevolence, right? And man, it's just it's a scary thing to have to be in the same room as, really, to be quite frank with you. These people make your skin crawl, because I'm 100% convinced that, you know, like, I'm going to say a good handful of employees at the city of Wayne are, you know, they've been hanging out at the island, right? In the pizza parlor and at the island. Let's just put it that way. And I wouldn't trust these people around a child, let alone an animal, let alone a child, right? These people are, like I said, they're just deplorable human beings. Finley Carter in particular, what he did to Mark Blackwell. Well, the thing is the city of Wayne's done that to a lot of people, right? It's just that was one of the times they got caught, right? And they got caught bigly. And so they like to try to forget about that, right? They buy it off Blackwell, paid him some money. They had, you know, came to some sort of settlement, and then now, you know, he's their best friend now, because they got rid of Lisa Nocerini, right? Which that didn't solve any problem. Like, Lisa Nocerini was certainly a problem in Wayne, but she wasn't the only problem, and I'm not convinced she was the biggest problem. You know, obviously she was a problem, but Diane Webb's just the same, one and the same. So if Diane Webb and Lisa Nocerini are one and the same, well, then it's like, well, why is that, right? Well, is it because of the people around the city manager Lisa Nocerini and Diane, well, formerly Lisa Nocerini, now Diane Webb. You know, what's going on in Wayne, right? Like that's why I'm running for office, and that's why I got interested in the first place. It's just we want to know what's going on in Wayne. We really do, right? And that's all. We're going to continue to ask questions, critical questions, right? Questions about things that just simply don't add up. And we'll see what happens, right? We have every right to exercise our First Amendment, right? Which, that's the thing. Anyone that exercises their First Amendment against the city of Wayne in a manner in which they do not approve of, right? Well, Chris Sanders found out. Cuck Mark Blackwell found out. Anthony Miller's finding out. I'm finding out, right? John Zook, he found out. John Zook Jr. But I mean, there's dozens, probably hundreds, right? If not thousands of people that have been just like treated a better version of how I've been treated, right? Which is just, it's cruel and unusual punishment on steroids, is what it is. It's what it is. To subject a human being to what I was subjected to, and then to have my rights, my to have my due process rights, my Fourth Amendment, my First Amendment, my Sixth and my Eighth Amendment, right, 14th Amendment, and to have all these amendments just openly, woefully violated, right, and then to have it ratified by two different judges, right, because Rita O'Leary, like I said, she's a piece of shit, and she can't decipher the logic of, well, a warrantless search is presumed to be unconstitutional, which means it's illegal, which means you can't use it. The evidence that you obtain, right, that you obtain in an illegal search is inadmissible. It's not a difficult concept. This is 8th grade school right here, right? This is 8th grade law. And so it's compounded by the fact that there is no ordinance to actually legally enforce. So warrantless search of someone's curtilage, right, which is already a huge constitutional no-no. But then you add on the fact of, well, damn, there was not actually a law on the books. So, man, explain that one, right? But somehow, Rita O'Leary, hag bitch Rita O'Leary, she found probable cause, despite the fact that it's literally an impossibility for probable cause to even exist, right? So, and then she passes it to James Plakas, right? And then you would think, well, James Plakas is gonna, follow the Constitution and follow the statutes and, the law, right? That's what a judge is supposed to do, is to make sure the law gets followed. And no, not one bit. Not one bit. Matter of fact, he ratified everything else, and then he doubled down, and then he got in the ring with them, and he ganged up on me. That's what this whole thing's felt like. It's felt like I'm in a boxing ring, and I have to wear like 20-ounce gloves, and they're bare knuckle, and there's like 3 of them, and it's just me, right? I mean, that's what this whole thing's felt like just a gangbang, right? Just a total drive-by blitz attack, and the most unlawful shit, right, humanly possible, right? Criminalizing behavior that's not criminal. Fabricating probable cause, right? Which is what Rita O'Leary and Carolyn Miller did. That's what Carolyn Miller did, the city attorney, right? Send it off to Kerry. That's what Officer Fuckface said, the DEI hire. I can't remember his name. I don't want to remember his fucking name. He's a piece of shit. But yeah, the DEI hire, he had to send it off to Kerry. He wasn't so sure. The Sergeant Williams, is that his name, Williams? I don't remember. Williams? We'll go with Williams. So Sergeant Williams, you know, he had to send it off to Kerry Miller. Which is weird. Why is a sergeant? Why is a low-ranking sergeant sending off a charge, a ordinance violation, a local ordinance violation? Why is he sending that off to the city attorney? Why does he have a direct line with the city attorney? Why isn't it going through a chief of police why isn't it going through a lieutenant and or deputy chief of police or chief of police? Kind of strange. It's just kind of strange. But yeah, Carolyn Miller, she reviewed everything, reviewed all the body camera footage, and she found probable cause, which is mind-blowing. How probable cause could exist on a warrantless search and seizure because of a smoldering fire pit when there's no open burn ordinance that even exists on the books to enforce. So in other words, there's no law to violate because no law exists, right? So an extension of that, you can't, if no law exists, well, then there's no law to enforce, which means there's no way to interfere because there's no lawful it's not rocket science, guys. We all understand this. We've explained it, at nauseum 100 times on this channel, but we have to reiterate just the type of evil that we're up against here. Chief evils of the Fourth Amendment, of the 14th Amendment. This is it, and the First Amendment, because this is just in retaliation to my speech, because I exercise my First Amendment right, and I tell it like it is, and I call people a fat fuck and a cunt bitch and whatever I want, because that's my God-given right. My forefathers, white men, right? Protestant white men, James Madison, Thomas Jefferson, George Washington, John Jay, Alexander Hamilton. I mean, the list goes on and on. Benjamin Franklin, right? These people, Paul Revere. These people fought. Thomas Paine, right? Who's probably the most underrated founding father. But it's just remarkable. It's just remarkable that Thomas Paine, my ancestor, is virtually responsible for this country's existence, and he died an early death, as a direct result of fighting for freedom, the freedoms that the government's supposed to protect, right? The courts are supposed to protect my freedoms, right? James Plakus is supposed to be protecting my freedoms, and instead he's ratifying the city's actions. And so, still waiting on those transcripts, guys. Been waiting for months, because they declare me indigent, but then they want me to pay $300, $400, $500, $600 for one transcript, right? And of course, they had a dozen dumbass proceedings, right? Completely pointless, completely unnecessary, kangaroo court, unlawful proceedings, right? This is what the fuck all this shit is, because there's no basis to begin with, right? It's all fruit of the poisonous tree, and it's all ultra vares and void ab initio. It's wrong from the very beginning, and it just gets worse and worse. It's structurally the worst violation of someone's rights I've ever seen. And so I like I said, I'm just waiting for the transcript, so I can, and a corrected ROA, right? And a corrected, whatever was reported to the background check, is completely incorrect. And it's just, all these discrepancies and errors, right? And, it's it's got to be fixed. And that's why I'm filing in U.S. District Court, first and foremost, is because, I need my family name vindicated, because we've done nothing wrong here. The criminals are the City of Wayne Police and Fire Departments and the City Council. Those are the fucking criminals. The city manager, those are the fucking criminals. Definitely not me, a disabled veteran, and my 8-month pregnant immigrant wife. We're not the criminals here. No, the City of Wayne's the fucking criminals. What they did was criminal when they trespassed on my property without a warrant, broke into my curtilage, broke into my house without a warrant to enforce a law that does not even fucking exist. That's as criminal as one can fucking get. And then I was assaulted by Officer Jay Sermon on May 19th. You know, there's so many violations of the law that occurred. It's astounding, right? And then, you know, to be arraigned on charges that can't even exist, and then to have bond conditions imposed on you and probation after you've already served the maximum sentence, pre-trial, right? Which is another thing. 6 months, no trial, right? No trier of facts in 6 months. You're just like, wow, this is Nightmare on Elm Street shit. But if anything, this will bring awareness, and hopefully in the long term, when it's all said and done, this will save some people's lives, right? People aren't going to be locked in a dungeon, thrown in a cage because they had a bonfire in their backyard, right? Even though the case law going back since I believe it's 1881, there's a case, Peck versus Adoptimus, 1888, I think it is, or 81. A bonfire is not an exigency. Definitely not a smoldering fire pit, right? A smoldering log is not a fucking exigency. Especially not on a 3-acre property, 300 by 450 feet. With woods all around, all these properties are, at least 150, 200 feet of frontage. On this, from Glenwood and Newburgh down to Laurenwood and Glenwood. You're talking at least an acre per lot. So, let's look at these comments. I've been trying to figure out how I became sub to your channel. Had to be through another channel. Probably accountability for all, Cat. Free speech is my favorite element of the First Amendment. Yeah, free speech is basically I would say redressing your grievances, petitioning your government. But yeah, the First Amendment's key. They're all key, right? But my favorite amendment's the Fourth. I think the Fourth is the most important. Because if the government can just come up in your shit and kidnap you and do it with just seemingly, immunity, right? Seeming immunity. That's a problem. That's obviously a problem, and you lose all your rights when you get thrown in a dungeon, when you go to jail, when you're in these torture dungeons. I wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, right? I really wouldn't. I would rather wish death on somebody than this shit. Criminals with a badge. Criminals with badgers. The whole system is corrupt, yes. Yeah, basically. It's all fruit of the poisonous tree. So, yeah, it is the whole system. Just like all cops are pieces of shit, yeah, because the system is shit, and by extension, police officers are shit, and that means they're all shit. I don't, like I said, when people try to say, oh, there's good and bad on this, and it's low IQ argument is what it is. Like, their argument is not what they think it is, right? Oh, well, there are some good cops. Well, there are some cops that don't abuse your rights as much as others. That's one way to put it. That's the only way I could put it. And that's not an argument. That's not compelling enough argument for me, right? Like, I don't sit there and go, oh, well, this person this person doesn't beat their wife as much as this person, so this person's better. It's like, yeah, you're splitting pubic hairs at that point, right? Like, that's essentially what what we're doing here at this point. I mean, I would just rather, not to say that, here's the problem in America. I'll break it down for you very simply, guys. The problem in America is the fact that we've let in all these immigrants from the third world, all these third worlders. There's a lot. The lower IQ populations are incentivized to breed, right? Welfare programs and right. That's the reason. Like, I understand, like, abortion is evil. It absolutely is. But abortion is the only reason why we don't have 3 or 4 times the low IQ idiots running around. We wouldn't even have a country if abortion didn't exist. Which is fucked up to say, but like, there are so many third world immigrants here and fat white trash bitches, right, that are breeding with them at just insane rates. And just, they're not all white, right? There's, when I say white trash, right, I'm just talking like a fucking, you know what I mean, guys. I'm picturing like, a burner, right? Someone who is a lot lizard, right? A mud shark. There's all kinds of terms for it, but what it really boils down to is, these pet enablers, right? Because that's what it is, right? You'll get some 300-pound worthless fat bitch who nobody in their right mind would want anything to do with. And they'll go find one of these third worlders and they'll shack up with them, and then they'll have some of their spawn, and now we have a problem on top of a problem on top of a problem, right? And multiply that by millions, right? And then there's America, right? That's obviously, we have another side to it, right? We have, the decent people, right? But there's not that many left, right? The good people are, the good people can't afford to have kids, and the bums and the parasites and the third worlders and the low IQ, they're being incentivized to have kids as much as they can, right? And so the people that should be having kids can't afford to have kids, or don't want to have kids, or it's mainly they can't afford it. Most people want children, and a lot of children, but can't afford anything in this world anymore with inflation and with how the globalists and the Democrats have destroyed the country and pillaged it, and the hedge funds and private equity, and the country's clearly been pillaged. And so at that point, what's a nigga to do, right? I mean, just flat out, what is a nigga to do? What is a good nigga to do, right? What is a normal non-piece of shit person supposed to do, right? Civilized society. What is civilized society supposed to do? And the answer is, well, you got to stop letting them over here, and you got to stop letting these fat white trash bitches breed with them. And then if they do, you need to like send them out to wherever their pet's from, right? They wanted to shack up with a pet, and I need to be a pet because I'm lonely. And instead of hitting the gym and losing the 150 pounds of cottage cheese trapped under your skin, they say, no, that's too much work. And they decide, no, I'm just gonna go shack up with a third worlder, I'm gonna bring them over here, or whatever. And yeah, that's a problem. That's a problem. But hey, I can only do what I can do, right? I can try to preach the gospel, and hopefully somebody out there will hear my message and understand what the fuck's going on, and they'll tell somebody, and then they'll tell somebody. But I mean, you got to get them out of here, right? First of all these Somalians and all these bombs, and Indians, and not Native Americans, but just all these parasites, right? These third world parasites. You got to get them the fuck out of here, and then you got to deport like 50 million of them, because there's probably like 50 million here. And then of course you have their enablers, right? Which is another probably, could be another 50 million or more or less. We don't know. I mean, there's a good, however many registered Democrats, that'll give us a rough estimate, right? It's a problem. It's a problem. It's a big old fat fucking problem. And yeah, you start deporting people in that number, and then you do like some of these other countries have, like Hungary and Hungary, and there's I think it's Korea, South Korea. They're paying native born American, or they're paying native born citizens to procreate, right? Giving them money, tax incentives, money, whatever. And so, to boost your population sanely, right? Not just unfettered third world immigration, right? That's not a long-term viable strategy for a country. That's retard. That's City of Wayne shit, right? That's retard talk. That's retard think, right? That's a retard idea. And, anyone who supports that needs to be pimp slapped to death by Puff Daddy and thrown off a fucking bridge. Of course, I say that sarcastically, comedically, but it's just like, nah. It's not it, guys. So, but yeah, I'm gonna get off here for a minute. I gotta take care of a couple things in the house here, and I gotta finish smoking my fatty. It's not really a fatty anymore. It's a skinny now, but I'm gonna finish smoking my CBD skinny, and I hope I gave you guys something to talk about or think about. I don't know. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. Please let me know how I can improve. Sean Mole Queen 42427. Hey bro. Hey, how you doing, dude? Where are you from, dude? Where are you from? Happy New Year. Happy New Year. He might have left. I don't know. Sorry, I wasn't really keeping up with the comments. I'm sure I'll see you again soon. Yeah, definitely, Cat. Definitely. Yeah, Cat Freedom 73. I'm assuming born in 1973. Cat Freedom. All right, Cat. I like your thumbnail too. But yeah, we'll talk later, people.